Infants and Toddlers is the title that we put up here, because we have for a long time waited too long to purposefully nurture little kids. Okay? Even the upper middle class families that buy the 300-page book and read the whole book. Okay, it's kind of eyes glaze over complexity. And some of our most enthusiastic respondents are upper middle class white women who talk about the fact that I read the whole book, but this boils it down to 5 things I can remember, 5 things I can actually keep in mind. It also has reminded a number of people that they are not as careful and engaged with their second, third, and fourth child as they were with their first child. Okay, so it's bringing people back to make sure they're focusing on all the things with all of their children. Okay, so notice the saying here, none of us can do alone what all of us can do together. Okay, it really is about pulling together as a community. Okay, I'm going to talk about videos, I'll talk about other tools, but those tools are only in service to the relationships. The work that we want people to do with their children is work that they are more likely to do if the people that they care about and the people who care about them are encouraging them, are promoting this, are supporting them. So we're trying to build community around families. We've used the term sometimes care circles. The idea that any family with a child at age 0 to 3 has several friends, relatives, neighbors who check in on them, who encourage them to use the basics, who let them know it matters. All right? So it's not just about the videos that I'm talking about. It's really about the relationships that we're trying to build, and we're trying to do it, again, through every institution that has repeated interaction with families. I'm going to start out by playing the overview video. WGBH has worked with us to produce 6 videos. The videos, one of the videos is an overview. That's one I'm going to play right now. The other 5 are one for each of the basics, and I'll come back around and tell you what the basics are. This video will introduce what the basics are. But they've produced these 6 videos. They're 4 minutes each. The overview is 3.5 minutes. The others are about 4 minutes each. We replicated all the videos in Spanish, reshot using Spanish-speaking families. Dr. Delgado from Whittier Public Health Center is a narrator for the Spanish videos. We have also done the videos in Haitian Creole using voiceover on the English version of the video. It's very well done. We're in the process of gearing up to do several other languages, including Cape Verdean Creole and Mandarin, and I'm not sure how many others, but all that's in process. The website is entirely reproduced in Spanish, so that in the upper right-hand corner of the homepage at bostonbasics.org, there's a drop-down tab where you can click Spanish and get everything in Spanish. There's also a drop-down tab for Haitian Creole, but it's just the videos right now that are there in Haitian Creole. So I'm going to just play this video right now.
Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me?
Learning begins the moment your child is born.
Baby, baby, baby.
Do you want to play too?
Every child is filled with vast potential for success in life. And those first 3 years can have the greatest impact on your child's learning.
Apple, look, where's the strawberries at? Yes, that's lemon too, and kiwi.
Wow, awesome job.
It's all about giving a child a proper start. That's what being a parent is all about.
Yay! We didn't like that song.
I wanted to make sure that I was here every day. Such a joy.
Every parent of every background can make a positive difference in their child's life.
It's peeling. Boom.
A few simple, everyday activities can make a big difference.
And those are flowers.
That's why Boston Basics is working with research and community leaders to promote an important new initiative. The Boston Basics are 5 simple principles that we want everyone to know. The first of the Boston Basics is to maximize love and manage stress.
You got them?
The The second is to talk, sing, and point.
Let's take a bath, a lovely bubbly bath.
The third is to count, group, and compare.
1, 2, 3.
The fourth is to encourage and enable movement in space and play.
I got it! You!
And the fifth is to read, but not just to read. We want to read and discuss stories.
Whoa, what is that? A duck. What does the duck sound like?
These are the 5 fun and simple things that every parent can do beginning from birth.
High five. Oh, yes.
Let's all work together to make sure our children can become the best, most well-prepared they can possibly be.
Maximize love.
And manage stress.
Talk, sing,
And point.
Count, group,
Y compare.
Explore through
movement and play.
read.
And discuss stories. Please join us and help spread the word.
So this image is just a summary of what I said a few minutes ago. We are really trying to achieve socio-ecological saturation. And we've made context in all these sectors that are listed on the screen now. We're not deep and mature in any of them, but we've at least started to engage people in each of the sectors around the circle. And I'll come back around near the end of the talk and show you some pictures from each type of setting as we go around this circle here. This is the list of convening organizations. There's 6 organizations right now and hundreds of other partners beyond this. But the Black Philanthropy Fund that I introduced earlier, the Achievement Gap Initiative at Harvard that I had, the mayor's office. When we went in to introduce this to Mayor Walsh, he was trying to convince us within 3 minutes that it had to be done. He said, oh yeah, every baby who leaves the hospital in Boston ought to have been briefed on the Boston basics. Then he paused and he said, wait a minute, but I don't have the authority to require that, do I? But then he said, but I can suggest it. WGBH does our videos and is a thought partner in this. The Children's Museum has been active. We're here today meeting, but we've met in this space several times before. And then Boston Medical Center. Barry Zuckerman was already doing some related work. Barry Zuckerman, pediatrician at Boston Medical Center, was already doing some related work with WGBH, so we've kind of joined forces in that work. So they're part of the partner. And others in that department now are starting to get mobilized and very engaged. 3 compelling facts that really drive this work. The first is that 80% of brain growth happens in those first 3 years. It's a missed opportunity if we don't plug into that and become part of it. Second is racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic gaps are very clear in the national data by the age of 2, which I said earlier. And the third, which is a fortunate thing, is that the science is also pretty clear about the types of things that can help. The experiences that we can help young children to have that will stop these gaps from opening or at least slow them down substantially. And this project is about trying to make sure that children from all backgrounds actually have the opportunity to have those experiences. This is an illustration of those gaps that I talked about a minute ago. You can see you got males and females, and then white, black, Hispanic, and Native American in each category. And white females are the comparison category, so we're looking at everybody relative to them. At age 1, this is in percentage terms how far behind the other groups are. At age 1, you can see those short greenish lines. By age 2, it's those orangish brown lines. Okay, those long orange or brown lines there are what really got my attention when I looked at these data. These are skill gaps that are foundations, precursors of the gaps that are there the first day of kindergarten. It's age 2, not even halfway to kindergarten, and kids are already way behind. So once we know that, there's kind of a moral obligation to step up and do something about it, particularly when we know that this is the time when brain growth is most rapid. There's a period called developmental plasticity that is when the brain is changing in a very fluid way. Kids learn like sponges. Stuff hits their brain and just sticks. They don't even have to try to learn. At some point, brain development shifts from being in the period of developmental plasticity to a period of adult plasticity. For literacy and a lot of these school-related skills, that shift has happened by middle elementary school. Okay, exactly when the window closes, there's not a lot of agreement on, but we know it closes by those middle elementary years and is really active during these early years. And it actually stays, the window stays open longer the more stimulation a child is receiving. So it's a huge opportunity during this period to do what we need to do to give kids the best opportunity. I view it as like building a road system. Like the connections in the brain that carry all the thoughts and signals are like streets in a city. And there's a period where the road building is happening most rapidly and most easily. And you can think about some cities build just a few major thoroughfares. Other cities have their thoroughfares, but a lot of cross streets where in those cities it's going to be easier to get places because you can take shortcuts and so on. And so it's really a matter of, do we give children the chance to build those dense neural networks that can be the foundation for learning, that make learning easier the rest of their lives? Or do we risk the possibility that they won't have that opportunity? Learning is going to be harder. They still can learn. The brain still changes, but it's just harder if we don't get it done during this early period. Okay? And it's something we can do. A lot of you, or some of you, have heard of the most famous study in this field, which is a Hart and Risley study that was done during the 1990s. And this 30 million word gap by the age of 3 in terms of how many words children have heard. They went into households and visited many times and watched how much speaking there was, and they compared households where the homes were were receiving public assistance with households where the parents had college degrees, were professional households. And the number of words spoken per hour in the least advantaged households were, here you see 616 on average. In the most advantaged households, 2,153. Multiply that out over 3 years, that's how you get up to the 30 million word gap. But it wasn't just the number of words, it was the tone of the words, the spirit and the emotional quality of those words. So you can ask how much reprimanding and scolding was there, and how much praise and encouragement was there. If we look at it at that, we see that there was half as much praise and encouragement as reprimands and scolding in the least advantaged households. There was 6 times as much praise and encouragement as reprimands and scolding in the most advantaged households. That's a 12-to-1 ratio. 600% to 50%. I've done some rough back-of-the-envelope calculations, and it looks to me like the amount of reprimands and scolding is similar across the household types. It looks like where the difference is coming from is the praise and encouragement. A lot of us have seen the folks in the airports who are just constantly talking to their kids. Every minute is positive reinforcement, is teaching. We've also seen people who are sitting and ignoring their kids. Okay, and those are the differences we're talking about. People who seem to be ignoring their kids often don't know that it really matters. They don't know that each of those interactions is a brain-building interaction. That a new connection is being built every time they provide some stimulation. So it's a matter of giving everybody access to the information, encouragement to use it, and the knowledge that it actually matters. One of the more recent studies looks at differences in language processing speed. Here you measure language processing speed by showing a child a set of objects and then looking to see how long it takes for the child to look at the object you've named. There's a 6-month gap in language processing speed by the age of 2 between the most advantaged and least advantaged kids. Language processing speed is a foundation for kids being able to pay attention. If we go up to the school years, The behaviors in kindergarten do not predict behaviors in 5th grade. Kids kind of outgrow those kindergarten behaviors. But attention skills in kindergarten do predict behaviors in 5th grade. They also predict test scores and special education placements. Okay. So the things we're talking about here are foundations for lifelong experiences. They put kids on particular trajectories, and it's not inevitable, is the point. What can we do? I've already told you several times, and I'll keep saying it in different ways. Saturate the community with the basics. Make life the program. We know that there are a number of effective early childhood programs, but they're small and they're expensive. And they're places that kids are in for part of the time, and then they're home, they're other places the rest of the time. We want to make life the program so that the treatment, so to speak, is embodied in the way that friends and relatives talk to one another. It's everywhere around you. It's on the radio. It's on the billboards. It's in little newspaper things. You just can't get away from it. So help families experience positive reinforcements from every direction for doing the basics. What are the basics? I'll go through a little bit more slowly. We showed you in the video before. These are posters that we have. That we got plenty of them. Anybody want posters, let us know. We can get them to you. Maximize love, manage stress. The security that infants and toddlers feel is the foundation for what we call executive function skills, for their ability to form an intuition and follow through on it. Okay? It helps them not be shy about reaching out to the world, to have a positive expectation, positive sense of anticipation about how the world will receive them as they reach out and try to engage, as opposed to being afraid and generally insecure and not as likely and as confident in the way that they engage the world. And so it's not just about love, it's also about minimizing this, not minimizing the stress, but managing it. In fact, this maximize love, manage stress, when we first started, was maximize love, minimize stress. And when we focus grouped it with young mothers, they said, don't come in here and tell me to minimize stress. They said, I don't have control over that. I can try to manage it. And so we changed it from minimize to manage. But I had this image of a parent's stress just kind of radiating out, and this notion, don't let your stress cook your kid. You know, you want to shield the baby from stress. You want the parent also to manage their own stress. So this is about the parent stress and the baby stress and the interaction between those two. Now, one of the themes that came out of, well, I'm not sure where it came from, it's a general theme that has to do with maximize love and manage stress, is the theme of spoiling babies. People are worried that you can spoil a baby, and they're trying to be careful not to spoil babies. We did a street survey in the Dudley neighborhood area where we interviewed on the street about 800 people, and we asked about half of the items were for early elementary, for infancy, which is 0 to 1 basically, and then the rest for toddler, 1 to 3. And one of the items was parents should not worry about spoiling very young babies. We had them agree or disagree on a scale of 1 to 7. Most people disagreed. That's the wrong answer. Okay, because we put, like, for example, 6 months or younger. Parents should not worry about spoiling very young babies, for example, 6 months or younger. The answer is right, you should not worry about spoiling young babies. Okay, but we see here, independent of education level, only a fifth to a third agreed that you should not worry about spoiling very young babies. The other thing that's common that I had never heard before was that people are worried about giving too much affection to toddler boys because it might make them sissies or even affect their gender preference. First time I ever heard this, I was doing a project in Michigan talking to some home visitors, and they said, you'll be in somebody's house and the little boy will start crawling up in the mother's lap and trying to hug her, and somebody, don't let him do that, he's going to be gay. Okay. And then I came back to Boston and I was talking to a barber about this issue of affection for toddler boys, and he said, that's not familiar. That don't happen around here. I don't know what you're talking about. But you don't want them to be gay. You don't want them to be sissies either. Okay. So people don't want their little boys to be too soft. They want them to be tough. And so there's evidence in the literature that when fathers play with their girls, it tends to be literacy related. When they play with their little sons, and I'm talking about even toddlers, it's rough and tumble play. There was one study that wanted to actually measure the time at which parenting becomes gender-based. And so they said, we'll start with 2 years old and we'll visit these families repeatedly until the kids are 4. And what surprised them was parenting was already gender-based by age 2. It was already the case that it was rough and tumble play versus literacy. So talk, sing, and point. Babies can hear 3 months before they're born. They're in there listening. They come out, they already favor their mother's voice. They already favor language in their mother's native language. Okay? They are encoding the language. Some people think, why should I talk to that baby? He don't know what I'm talking about. Well, that's true, he doesn't know yet, but he's encoding, or she's encoding the language. So as one of our advisors said, you just want to narrate life. Just talk to the baby. It does matter that you have some eye contact. Just having the television on or the radio on makes zero difference. Okay, the baby needs to have a sense of trying to communicate with them. But they are encoding the language from the very beginning. Now, babies do respond more to a high sing-songy voice that people refer to as parentese. And so you can use real words with parentese, though. You don't have to just talk baby talk, right? And so we want real language from the very beginning to help kids encode. There's also fascinating research on the role of pointing. When you point to what you're talking about, you help a child associate words and objects and accelerate the point in time when they understand the connection between words and objects. Okay, so it's real words, it's pointing, and babies tune in a little bit more when you sing it. And anything you can say, you can sing. Okay? And so the singing, the pointing, the talking all lay the foundation for language. And as kids make more rapid progress in language development, the world makes more sense, and learning is cumulative. And so he's got more to build on, more to anchor new experiences and new learning in, the earlier we get these foundations laid. Count, group, and compare. We talk a lot about reading. We don't talk about much about laying the foundation for numeracy, for math. Okay? There are all kinds of magnitudes in the world that we can call little kids' attention to. The most interesting fact related to this is that it's an intellectual breakthrough for a toddler when they realize that numbers correspond to groups of things. That 3 is 3 of something. It's not just the word you say after 2, right? You can play grouping games that help kids to come to this realization. Just where you regroup and talk about what you're grouping. Explore through movement and play is the fourth one. We want parents to understand that play is not a waste of time. Play is actually learning time. Kids' brains are developing. They are expressing curiosity in things. We want parents to watch their children while they play, notice what their children express interest in, engage their children more in those things that they express an interest in. If you're walking with a child and they bend down to look at an insect or a rock or a plant, talk about the insect or the rock or the plant. If it's safe, let them pick it up and touch it. The next time you see one, engage them with it again. Okay, building that curiosity, that permission to be curious, that support for curious, that love of learning. In the bio it mentioned we're working on a book on how highly successful people were parented. We've identified 8 roles that we see over and over and over in the parenting of highly successful people. And the first one is what we call the early learning partner. And the early learning partner is the parent who spends a lot of time engaging with the child, giving them the sense that learning is what life is all about. The child doesn't even know what's happening, but they're having these experiences. They're enjoying the experience. They're feeling the relationship with the parent. They're feeling the growing competence. Various kinds of influence that they're having while they're going through this process. And by the time they're 3 or 4 years old, they're just looking for stuff to think about. Because that's what life is, right? And that's the foundation off of which everything else comes. And so one way to say what we're trying to do with the basics is we're trying to make sure every kid has at least one early learning partner. And ideally more than one. Finally, and this is one of the baseline survey metrics. Fun games like peekaboo help a baby's brain develop. And we see for the parents who had less than a high school degree, only about a third agreed with that. For those who had postgraduate, about 2/3 agreed with it. But even for the postgrads, 1/3 didn't agree. Okay? Brain development is not something people think about when they think about little babies and toddlers. Okay? But it's like you want to build a big mansion, you got to put the foundation in place. And it's real much easier to build that foundation in those first 3 or 4 years. And I should mention, we're focused on 0 to 3, but I've talked to a number of families whose kid is 4, and they're using it too. And it's still a lot of the same issues when children are 4. Even one of the videos I'll show you, the mother said her daughter was 4. Read and discuss stories. Talk a lot about reading. We don't talk much about discussing. So we want people to stop during the story and remember, explain, anticipate. What did he already do? Why do you think he's doing that? If you were going to finish a story, how would you write the rest of the story? What do you think is going to happen next? Starting to build cognitive muscles, so to speak, the reasoning muscles. And those discussions can be very interesting. Okay. A lot of times people tell us, well, they think this campaign is just for poor people who haven't had access to a lot of the information. And there's a bunch of stuff here I didn't do. I wasn't thinking about when my kids were little. Okay? I'm sure we loved them and we shielded from stress, but not on purpose just because that's our lifestyle. Okay? The talk and sing, we talked, we probably didn't sing much, and I know we didn't point on purpose. Okay? The count, group, and compare, I can remember playing some grouping games, but not in a purposeful way, not in a way that I knew that was really mattering. Okay? The explore through movement and play, we did that, but not as purposefully as I would have done it if I had known that it mattered. And the read and discuss, we read every night, but we've never discussed. Okay? It just didn't occur to us to stop and have the discussion while we were reading. So all of us can get something out of this. This is a poem, A Parent's Promise to Do the Basics, that I want to read. I'd gone through 3 cycles in my life of writing poems. One when I was in my 20s, just to kind of relieve irresolution. And then I do a lot of work with schools, so I do have a collection of poems for teachers. And so now I've just started to do the Boston Basics poems. This is called A Parent or Caregiver's Promise to Do the Basics. With my heart, I will love you and shield you from stress. With my mouth, I will speak what I feel. With soft words and sweet songs, every time I behold you, I'll show you that my love is real. With my fingers, I'll point at the objects I name, and I'll count them in groups to compare. With my feet, I will take you outdoors to explore while we play and enjoy the fresh air. With my eyes, I will read as I show you the world through bright pictures and stories and books. These are ways to make sure that your brain is prepared for successes wherever you look. This my promise I make from the day of your birth, that these basics I'll faithfully do. For my job is to help you grow happy and smart, starting now, when your life is brand new. You will learn that your life is an artwork, and you are the artist in charge. But before you decide what to do with your life, listen now to the beat of my heart. This next slide is actually, we did a little animation of this other poem. We should sign a basics contract, wherein, when it comes to babies, we would share an obligation with no ifs or buts or maybes. We could guarantee that parents would be rescued from their stress by supportive friends and neighbors helping put their cares to rest. This includes the types of friendship where, when weary from no sleep, every parent finds a trusted soul, their precious child, to keep.
We would help each parent come to know the benefits of talking and the ways that pointing helps the child decipher all their squawking. We would post on walls and billboards things that little kids could count, near some sculptures made for grouping to compare and climb and mount. We would donate games and puzzles and some toys to use outside. We'd make sure that every toddler has a tricycle to ride. And each child would be enthralled by all the wonders found through reading, for we'd offer to each family any books they might be needing. If we all embrace this vision, that means friends and neighbors too. Parents then will find the bandwidth to do what they need to do. Yes, they'll need to do the basics, and by doing your small part, you will help more parents help their kids to learn and grow up smart. If we all resolve to do these things we've learned will be required, then each child our efforts benefit will be a life inspired.
So now, this is one of the other videos. I'm going to just show you an example of the other 5 videos. This is Maximize Love, Manage Stress.
How do children learn to love? Babies thrive when the world feels loving, safe, and predictable. So when we say maximize love, we're talking about the things that you can do to help your baby feel loved, happy, and safe.
Right? No.
It's really important to show them a lot of love.
Wrapping her allows me to be hands-free, and it also shows her that I love her, I guess.
She feels warm now.
The simplest way to maximize love is to express affection. Hugging and cuddling, smiling and laughing, playing silly games together. These are all ways to communicate how much you love them. Other ways are by encouraging and showing excitement when they try something new or difficult.
Yes! I love it! You know, good old-fashioned hugging, kissing, letting her know we love her.
It also teaches them about the give and take of communication.
Good job. You need a hug? Okay.
Respond to your child's sounds, gestures, and facial expressions. If you pay attention, you will learn what your baby is trying to signal. Having standard daily routines is a way to make the world feel predictable for your child, and it's also a way to manage your own stress.
We have meal routines, and we have bedtime routines, so we have bath time before bed and play, and then we'll read together. So that's kind of a rhythm that we have.
Routines help your child know what to expect. They can be comforting, they can also help with transitions.
She knows when the house just starts to quiet down and settle down, she knows it's time to go to bed.
If I come home and Dom is stressed, I try to take on that stress. Because I can say to her, like, let me help you out, let me control this, what I can control.
Stress is just a part of life. Some stress is normal and even important because it helps children learn how to cope with stress that they're likely to experience in the future as part of their everyday lives. Being loving and responsive are ways to help your child to cope with and ultimately recover from the stresses of everyday life. The point is not to be stress-free. The point is for you and your child to survive those moments of stress, to overcome them, and to continue toward being your best self.
I'm gonna have a very honest moment. I am stressed a lot. But I think one thing I've learned is to get out every day and to just let it go.
Because the relationship is so close, your own feelings can affect your child's feelings. So it's important to take care of yourself. One of the best ways to feel at peace and to manage your own stress is just to hold the baby close.
There are times when I get stressed, but I also think about what a great gift this is.
Ultimately, nothing in life is more important or more rewarding than the bond of love between between a parent and a child. Cherish your child and take care of yourself. That's the message.
They are my reward. These cute little faces. Look at that. Look at that, boo-boo. I can't wait for them to be able to give mommy a kiss back.
How do you manage everyday stress and express love to your child? Which of your family members and friends should also see this video? Please join us and help spread the word.
As I said earlier, this video and all the others are on the internet, open access. We're also for other cities that are joining the Basics Network. We just rebranded, put their name where Boston is. And we've got a number of other cities now that are just working along with us, learning at the same rate that we're learning. We tell people we're still early in the process, but they say, that's fine, we'll learn together. Just to show you some images, this is Southern Jamaica Plain Health Center. On the bulletin board in the pediatrics area, you see one of our posters. It has all 5 of the basics on it, the Pediatrics Community Board. In the waiting room, you see the video playing on the television in the waiting room over there. On this is actually, here's where we start. These are the booklets. We have booklets for infants and toddlers in Spanish and English, and these are free to give away. We're starting to run a little low on the supply, which is good, which means we've been giving them out. So we need to do another printing. Some people say the color's too dark, so we need to lighten up the color maybe, but it's fine. So health centers, this is the image I showed you a second ago. Hospitals, this is Elsie Tavares, Mass General, has woven the basics into her first 1,000 days program for infant obesity. Employers, Partners Health is going to be pushing this out through its HR system to all its employees to give access to their extended families to the basics. Faith-based organizations, this is a sermon at Lion of Judah Church in the South End. You'll see on the screen up there is our Spanish overview video playing. We handed out materials. This is a training also at Lion of Judah Church in the South End for parents. Schools, museums, libraries, this is the training Read Boston did at one of the libraries. This is a meeting in this room actually with the Superintendent Chang and Leslie Schwartz here from the Children's Museum. The community centers, this is a training we did for all the directors of community centers in Boston. They were raising their hands about willingness to come back to some additional trainings. That's Jeff Howard, who's the chair of the Black Philanthropy Fund, is standing over there asking for the show of hands. Child care settings, this is Family Nurturing Center, and the training was happening there. This was done in Spanish, and this young lady is getting her certificate for having gone through the process. Housing developments, Mass Housing is working with us to get into nonprofit housing developments. Homeless shelters, Horizons for Homeless Children is starting to incorporate this into their programming. Barbershops and beauty shop, this is Mattapan's finest combined hair salon, males and females. I did a presentation there. You had people sitting around the window sills and in the chairs. It was me and a guy talking about prostate health. Each of us had 15 minutes to go. It was funny, when I first finished, I said, okay, let's have some conversations, some Q&A. Nobody moved. So I said, okay, well, if you think this is a good idea, raise your hand. All the hands went up. If you think this is the barbershops are a good place to spread the message, raise your hand. All the hands went up. Then people loosened up a little bit, and we had some conversation after that. And again, this is the circle of influence that we're trying to have that I just talked through. The idea is work through existing institutions and social networks. As I said, not new programs. We're offering new tools to be used in those relationships. We do need outreach and support capacity. We have some. We're trying to raise funds to build some more outreach and support capacity so that our partners can all know we're paying attention, and we're going to visit them periodically and give the reinforcement, figure out what refinements we need to make. Tools, videos, posters, booklets, baseline surveys, train the parent protocol, parent workshops, facilitated training for those, a website. We're coming out with an app. The app we'll have a weekly push notification beginning the first year of life, where once a week, parent will get a push notification about the issue for the week, 2 or 3 sentences to say what the issue is, why it matters, then 4 or 5 sentences to say kinds of things you can do, always with encouragement to be creative and to engage other people. Middle of the week, there's a reminder. At the end of the week, there's a little debrief, and it's over and over again for 156 weeks. We've already got all the text written. We're just trying to finalize and fine-tune the user experience before we push that out. We're going to do it experimentally initially so we can test the impact of it. This is other types of activities. And when we think about the early childhood sector, if you're not part of it, it really looks disjoint. The messages are kind of all over the place, all kinds of different institutions. But if we take the players that are already there, most of whom are expert at what they do, just rearrange, bring them together, we can go from this to this. And it's all the same pieces. Okay, there's nothing here that wasn't there. It's just rearranged to have a different meaning. Okay, so that's the end.